Greetings and welcome to Bubble Hearthing. I'm Bubble and you're fantastic. Today we're going to be talking about all of the green cards from the new Magic the Gathering set titled Dungeons & Dragons Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, which is already live on MTG Arena and will be coming out to paper in a few weeks. I'll actually be going to a pre-release. That'll be fun. So without further ado, let us talk about the green with, I guess I have a little buddy here to help me out. Alright, so we begin with what I assume is named Buletti, or Buletti? Boulette? Boolty. Wow, off to a strong start. Okay. So for 4 mana, you get a 3/3, and at the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Bullet over here. Good old Bullet Bill. So, what I've noticed with a few of these, because I have played some on Arena, this is coming out a little after the cards are, playable on Arena, so I have had some experience with them, but not anything constructed. I've only played limited. So what I've noticed that while this body is okay, and you can certainly attack, play this afterwards, it gets the effect 4 mana 4/4 with upside. Great, okay. The only downside to a few effects that have this specific timing is that it's at the beginning of your end step, so it does not trigger at all during your opponent's turn, which not only gives your opponent a pretty good chance to come back from that and a good window to respond, but also it's just kind of lackluster. It doesn't end up really going as far as you would like it to. At least that's what I noticed, is that, the idea here, they're selling the dream of, hey, this is a, 4 mana 3/3, but it's going to grow every turn, then you get a 4/4 and a 5/5 and a 6/6. The idea being you have an endless supply of creatures that will constantly be dying or attacking. If you block, it doesn't actually work that way. So your opponent can still attack however they want to, and just, you attack. It's strange. So for that reason, I will give this a 2.5 out of 5. It's okay. You can put it in a decent deck, even have some... I believe there's a sacrifice, sub-theme that you can play with. Although that's largely in Rakdos, in limited. So, in standard this is useless, don't get me wrong. In standard's terrible. But yeah, there's a sacrifice, a few things in limited you can do that way, where you could try to get more value out of this, but otherwise, not really too keen on it. Bull's Strength. Yes, it's actually you. You just laid off the other L. Let's see, Bull and whatever. So 2 mana instant speed. Target creature gets +2/+2 and gains trample until end of the turn and untap it. It's tapped. If it's not untapped, it's fine. Or if it's not tapped. I'm trying to say something, make sense of something that didn't need to be said anyway. So, let's see, 2 mana, weaker giant growth, but you get trample. I hate it. Cool, alright. I mean, you can have a surprise blocker because you untap the creature as well. So that's something, but I think for 2 mana, you'd rather do some other things. Maybe play another creature, maybe just play some other spell that potentially removes something on the board. So, for that reason, I am definitely, most certainly out. Both formats, I mean, I guess 1 out of 5 in limited, but standard's not even close. Choose your weapon. 3 mana instant speed, either double target. I was like, double target? What's a double target? Double target creature's power and toughness until end of turn, or deal 5 damage to target creature with flying. Well, at least there's a couple options there. In limited, of course, because there's 2 different ways you can play it, or 2 different choices in the card, then it's going to be more expensive because it has flexibility. But still, in limited, I would play one of these cards. It's good to have a way to deal with flyers. There's a decent number of flyers in the set that you will likely run into. And beyond that, the whole doubling, it's nice that it also doubles the toughness as well as the power, because quite a few things just double the power, and then you have giant creature that still dies to the same stuff. So this is pretty good. Let's see. In standard, we have better effects that do a similar thing, and they don't get played, so this won't get played at all. But in limited, this is alright. I would give it like a 1.5 out of 5. It's kind of pseudo-removal that if your opponent has a creature with flying, it is actually removal. If they don't, then you need a creature as well, and then they need to hit you, and then you need to make sure they don't have removal, and it's really, really contrived. So yeah, 1.5 out of 5. Circle of the Moon Druid is a 3 mana 2/4, and it can become a bear. Actually, kind of literally. As long as it's your turn, Circle of the Moon Druid is a bear, with base power and toughness 4/2. So when it's your turn, it's a 4/2. When it's your opponent's turn, it's back to a 2/4. Which sounds nice. When it's your turn, it's aggressive, you can be on the attack, and then when it goes to your opponent's turn, it's defensive, but it doesn't have vigilance, so I guess it just survives a board wipe or 2, potentially. Not all that great. So because it is, has the ability to become a bear, I will give it the 2 out of 5 that all bears get. Alright, Circle of Dreams Druid is a 3 mana 2/1. You can tap to add green for each creature you control. So, if anyone's familiar with a certain card, I think is it a land? I'm pretty sure it's a land. Yeah. going back, you know, a little while when Magic was young. I actually don't know exactly how long, but you know, a little while ago. By the name of Gaia's Cradle. Yes, I went there. I know. How can you not go there when you see this effect? You're like, hold on now. I think I've seen this printed somewhere else. There have been other cards where it says like add green for however many elves you have, or like Morrowind does something based on her power. Like, okay, you can get a lot of mana that way. And keeping in mind that Gaia's Cradle was on a land and was fantastic because lands, you know, cost 0 and such, and they have multiple ways to get searched, and it's just, I mean, actually elves have a lot of support too, so outside of standard, there's probably some way to break this card as well. Potentially in modern, you know, or Pioneer, I guess. Is that still a format? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure Pioneer fell flat on his ass. So beyond that though, in standard, are elves really, well, elves aren't really doing anything before this. I'm sure they have some support, but I don't believe that elves will necessarily go too far. This could be seen in just a mono green like Stompy deck, and just you have, or mono green like aggro, yeah, play a bunch of creatures, tap this for like, you know, 3 or 4 mana, play some more creatures. I don't think it's a fantastic elf card, like, to go on elf synergies. But yeah, actually, card's pretty nice. In limited, it's quite slow as a very vulnerable 3 mana dork. So I would say probably 2 out of 5 there. It's tough to play a 3 mana 2/1, but if it can get you 1-2 mana, if it can help you curve out a little bit, then that's fantastic. In standard, I'm willing to say 3.5 out of 5. There we go, there we go. You see, when you gotta put the pause there, it means that you're thinking about something. So yeah, 3.5 out of 5. Because I think this effect is quite strong. The format actually is pretty fast, at least limited is. And I'm pretty sure standard is going to be a very similar thing, you know. Basically, you either go fast or you go... You either go fast or you go long. You can only choose one. So I think it has potential, but it is a very slow card to play. So you need to somehow get things going the first couple turns. Compelled Duel, which is why I say that you want to play this in a deck where not only because you get a better use of his effect if you go wide, but also you want to be able to have like 1 and 2 drops that if they don't defend the board, develop a board, so that when you play this on turn 3 and then you untap on turn 4, when you play this on turn 3 and untap on turn 4, you can actually make some good use of the mana. If you're just playing this and then like your mana curve starts at like 3 or 4, what are you doing? You should not do that. There are better cards. Alright, Compelled Duel is a 2-mana sorcery. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn and must be blocked this turn if able. Sorcery speed. This seems terrible. Yeah, 0 out of 5 both ways. Actually 0 out of 5. Wow, would you look at that. We got some David and Goliath stuff going on back there too. My goodness, look at that. I'll scratch your nipple with this sword. Okay. Anyway, Direwolf Prowler is a 3-mana 2/2. Yep, just gonna keep on going. For 2 mana, it gets +2/+2 and gains haste until end of turn. Activate only once each turn. This card's actually very, very slow. I tried playing with this a little bit. It was interesting. You know, you can potentially have a 3 mana, you know, surprise-ish 4/4, and you can do it once during, you know, each player's turn. It's not just yours, so that's pretty nice there. The fact that it can get haste means it's okay when you get it off the top later on, but odds are it's not gonna do much. You're not going to play this on turn 5 and swing in unless you just cleared the board, which good luck with that. Standard's useless. Limited, it's something along the lines of like a 2 out of 5, maybe like 2.25. Just better than a bear because there is that added, like, you know, strength to it, but not that much. It disappointed me quite a bit. All right, Druid class. Hey, we have a class card. Look at that. We have a 2-mana Druid class. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. Okay, a little bit of life here. Yeah, largely inconsequential. Let's see what else we can do. When you get it to level 2, you may play an additional land on each of your turns. Okay. Sure, you have to pay 3 mana for that effect, 5 total, but sure. Say you do this on turn 2, then you'll play a land, you gain a life, sure, level up on turn 3, you play another land. Okay. So now you play, let's see, 3. You have 4 lands on the board, right? And turn 4 comes around, and you get to play 5, even like 6 lands. I don't have any cards left in your hand at this point, but that's decent. And if you have it's decent. This might, could see this potentially being a temporary replacement for like Willful Haven or something in Assault Ultimatum, or just like a ramp deck. Not that it's fantastic in that sense, like it might not be a better choice, but it has a persistent ability where the more things you draw, the more you can just play, so there's that. Oh, let's start with the last one now. When it becomes level 3, target land you control becomes a creature with haste, and this creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. It's still a land. So worth noting, this only activates once. You get to target one thing. If your opponent kills it, and then it's gone, and then that's it for level 3. But hopefully you would have ramped up enough to actually make that happen and get there. And the fact that it kind of not cycles, but it flows very well with itself, because you have the 3 mana thing where you can play more lands, then it goes straight to 5, but if you have all the lands in your hand, you'll be able to go to 5 mana the very next turn. So that's pretty nice. It actually is very, very smooth. And for that, I will say like 3 out of 5, maybe even 3.5 out of 5 unlimited. This is solid. It can usually create a fairly large creature, and of course you can try to skew your curve a little more towards the higher end. Not too much. It is uncommon, not a common, so you can't really count on getting more than, we'll say, 2 of them in your draft, but not bad. In standard, I would say 2 out of 5 there. It could see some play with, like, maybe 1 or 2 of somewhere, maybe a little testing, and we'll see. I think it actually might be able to make the cut, but only time will tell. Eliwick Tumblestrum. Okay, so it's a 4 mana, 4 loyalty green planeswalker that is very, very blurry, but luckily I can look at things because this is basically what my handwriting looks like. +1, venture into the dungeon, and there's the dungeons for reference in case you're curious. Those are going to stay up for the rest of the video now, because I tried removing them when cards that don't say venture were on the board, on the field, on the screen, so I should play some Magic. And I kept forgetting, and it became kind of clunky, so it's just going to stay there now. And there it is. You can look at it. It's going to cover up the owlbear, but it's okay. He sees from beyond. Let's see then. So yeah, venture into the dungeon, there's your dungeons. Actually, pretty nice ability, not something to ignore. Can certainly help you if you're focused on completing a dungeon to get some other benefits, then it's actually quite a nice utility to have there. Now it's the -2. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them and put it into your hand. If it's legendary, you gain 3 life. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So -2, look at the top 6, find just 1 creature, put it into your hand. You may or may not gain life. Odds are you probably won't. There's not usually that many legendaries if you're playing a whole bunch of creatures, unless you only have a few key creatures, in which case you might not be wanting to play this card. But anywho, the idea usually is a +1 value, -2, or plus ability, get some value, minus ability, some sort of protection for the planeswalker, some sort of board establishing presence thing. So in this case, you can't really play this unprotected on turn 4, because when you -2, it doesn't affect the board unless you have some more mana to play another creature, to play the creature that you get. So unless it can survive with the 5 loyalty, which it might be able to if your opponent's going kind of slow, maybe, probably not, then you might want to hold off a little bit, or just have a board by the time you play it and be able to block. That's it. So with that, I like it. Definitely not Vivian, but I like that. Oh, and the -7. Let's just get to the big one. You get an emblem. Yep, that's a minus ability. That's an ulti. With creatures you control, have trample and haste, and get +2/+2 for each differently named dungeon you completed. Oh, so there's the... Okay, I didn't actually remember that last bit. So there's your payoff in addition to other things. So you're certainly putting this in a deck that plans on completing dungeons. You don't just want to get the somewhat marginal, sometimes fairly impactful benefits of the +1. That also means that you may potentially be more inclined to go for, say, the Lost Mine of Phandelver or even the Tomb of Annihilation, because those are the 2 dungeons you complete in 3 or 4 ventures. Most likely 4. Good luck with the Oubliette Path. Or I guess a room. The Dungeon of the Mad Mage has a sizable payoff at the very end there, but it does take, oh geez, 7 ventures to get through. So I mean, it certainly happens, but just, be prepared to try to stick it out, and be aware that unless you are playing a slower, more defensive deck, you might not get there. So, with that being said, Eliwick Tumblestrum, pretty solid card. In Limited, this is actually a 5 out of 5, immediately. Even though venturing doesn't necessarily net you, like, a bunch of advantage, the fact that this is guaranteed venture every turn is amazing. And beyond that, in Standard, I'm going to give this like a 3.5. I think it's pretty good. I think it's definitely going to see some play. I don't know if the deck's going to be tier 1, but maybe tier 2? Maybe tier 1.5? I think we'll see this up there. That's English. Okay. I was like, Elder Guard? Oh no, I didn't get the English translation again. God damn. Okay. 5 mana, 4/1 for a human elf ranger. With reach, when Elderguard Ranger enters the battlefield, you create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. So for 5 mana, you get a 4/4 with reach and a 2/2. Okay, that's fine. It's interesting. It's pretty good and limited because, again, there are a decent number of flyers. Granted, this thing dies after a single block unless you have some way to buff it, and you probably do have ways to buff it with other like enchantments and equipments, most notably, but whether or not that's actually going to be able to hit the board or whether you'll be able to buff this thing is another story. So for that reason, I largely see this as a 5 mana stop your opponent's flyer, or kill a flyer and make a 2/2. If it's something along those lines at sorcery speed, I'm not all that happy about it. So no, I will give this a 1 out of 5 in limited. Just nope. And in standard 0, Find the Path. This is a 3 mana aura. Hey, there you go. Enchantment aura. And you enchant a land. When it enters the battlefield, you venture into the dungeon. There they are. An enchanted land has tap, add green, green. Worth noting that this is another ability that you can activate when you tap your land. So the lands automatically have, tap, add whatever color they are associated with. So, mountains have, tap, add red. It's just implied there. They used to actually be written out there on the card, but they just got rid of that in favor of a cleaner card and nicer artwork and things, and it just is understood now. So if you enchant this, if you throw this onto like an island, you can either tap for blue or for green, green. It does not tap for blue, green, and green all in one thing. They're 2 separate options. Just keep that in mind. But otherwise, in limited, it's okay. I would put it like a 1.5 out of 5. I don't love it. It isn't very good ramp. The venture's okay, but I feel like it's very expensive for what it does, and you may or may not actually be able to recoup the losses from that turn, that loss of tempo. In standard, because it is not Willful Haven, just giving more mana for the thing, it's actually replacing the regular tap effect. 0. All right, Froghemoth. This thing, like, God, would y'all look at that thing? Okay. Damn. So, for 5 mana, you get a 4/4 Trample Haste Frog Horror. I couldn't have said it better myself. Whenever Froghemoth deals combat damage to a player, exile up to that many cards from their graveyard. Up to? I guess you can exile less. Okay, sure. Put a +1/+1 counter on Froghemoth for each creature card exiled this way. You gain 1 life for each non-creature exiled this way. So for every creature card, it gets buffed, and if it's not a creature, then you get some life. So if you're on the brink of destruction there, you want to target the non-creatures. Worth noting that it just says non-creatures, instant, land, sorcery, or artifact. As long as it's not a creature, you're good. Let's see, beyond that, very kind of similar to, actually almost the inverse of whatchamacallit, something dust, the black spell that everyone plays, all is dust. I don't know, become the dust, dusty dust. Okay, lovely. I'm probably saying the thing wrong, but whatever. So, or is that one, if you exile a creature you gain life. This one is if you exile a creature you get a counter. So okay. Anywho, so what do you think about this? 5 mana 4/4 with those abilities. Pretty damn good. If you're playing unlimited, there's a chance your opponent would have like swung out with a few things, maybe leave a little creature behind, maybe not. So you can certainly find a window where this thing will be able to attack. And if you don't, you can still just play it, ignore the haste, just play it as a blocker, and your opponent has to respect this exists on the board. In standard, I don't think this is good at all. Nope. 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 Yeah, I'm just gonna say 0 out of 5 standard. I'm sorry. Like 5 mana 4/4 Trample Haste. Like we have a Questing Beast, in case you weren't aware, which is 1 mana less for that, plus, well, not trample, but like it has Death Touch and some evasion. Oh, but it doesn't grow, it doesn't exile things. Okay. Still a Questing Beast. So Knoll Hunter is a 2 mana 2/2 with Pack Tactics. And to anyone who's wondering, like, what the dungeons do with pack tactics and things, I'll go more in depth on the abilities and the new mechanics of the set in an intro video coming out soon, maybe tomorrow, maybe today. We'll see where it ends up. So I'm just gonna kind of gloss over these things and keep on rolling with these reviews. Okay, so let's see. When you do the thing, when you enable pack tactics, you put a +1/+1 counter on Knoll Hunter. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. And limited, I gotta give it a 2.5 out of 5 just because it's a 2 mana 2/2 at worst, which is okay. and the odds that you activate Pack Tactics aren't bad. You might want to hold back a turn or two, I mean, to try to reliably get the activation on it, but beyond, like, that kind of awkwardness that I'm actually, like, pausing every few seconds when I talk, I know it's hard to unhear it now, but I'm going to kind of continue to talk now so it's actually gone. Yeah, aside from that awkwardness where you may or may not want to attack to keep it alive to try to buff it later on with its own ability, then I like it a bit. In Standard, it's much too slow, there are better cards, but in Limited, there's actually nothing wrong with it at all. Green Dragon, hello. Oh, that's what happens after you, I don't know, you have a garlic sundae or whatever. Yeah, that thing that SpongeBob had. What the hell was it? I don't know, something. I think there was ketchup involved and onions and was there a shoe? Probably not a shoe. I don't know. Fried. Okay, anyway. Just say more words and see how many people can discuss. So for 6 mana, you get a 4/4 Flying Dragon. And when it enters the battlefield until end of turn, whenever a creature an opponent controls is dealt damage, destroy it. It's going to be a very difficult thing to combo with the turn, like to actually have the effect matter. And in addition to that, you have to play this first. It's not like the Manticore where you can flash it in or you can play it, anything that was dealt damage can die. No, you have to do this first and then everything basically has Death Touch. So really tricky and obnoxious. I guess you could see playing this and then swinging out, and hopefully your opponent has to block because you're attacking for lethal and they just have very, very subpar blocks because whatever they block with dies. It's very unlikely that you're going to be able to pair this with some sort of non-combat damage. So it's still fantastic. It's 6 mana 4/4 with some other potential to it, some other upside is good. So like 3.5 out of 5, maybe just 3 out of 5 in Limited, because yeah, the flyers are good. Maybe you can equip it. Yeah, I'll go 3.5. I'm going to stick to my guns there. Standard is useless, but 3.5 out of 5 in Limited, because worst case is a 6 mana 4/4 flyer, and it's also a dragon, which has some synergies, some upsides. Hill Giant, I was gonna say Herdiger, okay. 6 mana for a 7/6. When the Hill Giant Herger enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life. It's just a big thing, big creature. Worth noting that the 3 life is enough to trigger the Book of Exalted Deeds. Usually when you gain life, you end up gaining like 2 or something as the amount that a lot of cards seem to like throw around. But there's a few things that gain you 3 life these days, mainly because they're trying to synergize with that or enable that as well. So that's kind of cool. Standard is useless, but in Limited, this is actually pretty damn decent. It will absolutely help you stabilize, buy you a turn, do some amazing things. Just make sure you have enough mana to actually get there. And if you have, and you also kind of want to get some defensive stuff, but it certainly upsets the balance of the board, hopefully in your favor. Oh, so in Limited, it's like a 3 out of 5. It's potentially going to win you the game, not that much, but it'll at least definitely like save you for a turn. And like I said, Standard, no. Hunter's Mark, 4 mana. Oh, so this is the green hate card that hates against blue. I feel personally attacked. How appropriate. So, 4 mana instant speed. It costs 3 less to cast if it targets a blue permanent you don't control. And it can't be countered as well, just overall can't be countered. Doesn't matter what color they're playing, I guess there are. Cannot be hit with Temple's Trickery. There we go, guys, we figured it out. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Then it deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. So, the reason it says blue permanent and not blue creature you don't control is because you can also target your opponent's planeswalkers. That's pretty nice. And if it is a blue thing, then you only have to pay a single green instead of paying 4 total, which is a very, very big difference. There's a huge gap in like playability and value when you put it on those two ends. At 4, if this was just 4 mana all the time, it would be completely useless. There are plenty of other fight effects, but I can fight planeswalkers. I don't care, it's too expensive. If it just cost 1 all the time, it would be broken just at instant speed. If it was a sorcery speed, it might be okay, but instant speed is kind of busted. So for that reason, probably just sideboard card. If you're running Green Stompy, or something, and you're playing against any sort of blue, then yeah, so sideboard away. Even in Limited, I would say probably sideboard this card, because it's a very expensive thing, and the buff only lasts for the turn. So yeah. Also worth noting here, can't be countered, gets around Ward, because Ward's ability, the way Ward works is, say you target a creature with Ward with this, and it says that unless you pay the Ward cost, the spell is countered. but this can't be countered, so you do not have to pay the ward cost at all. You just decline to pay it. You can pay it if you want to, because it's an option to pay that thing, but you certainly don't have to. Okay. So yeah, sideboard out of 5 in both formats. I guess like 2.5 in standard and more so like a 1.5 in limited. Unless you're playing against a solid blue deck, then by all means, this is your removal. Inspiring Bard is a 4-mana 3/3. Enters the battlefield, choose one. Either target creature gets +2/+2 until a turn, or you gain 3 life. That gaining 3 life may be a little more impactful than you might think, and the buff there is nice if you're very aggressive. So you have the gain 3 if you're playing a slower game, and the buff if you're playing a faster game. Pretty good utility, and you pay for that by paying an extra mana towards it. So for that reason, like 2.5 out of 5, not bad at all. It's okay. It's rather... All in all, it is not the best tempo for the turn there, but you can certainly put your opponent in a slightly awkward spot, and it does what it does pretty well. Standard is useless. Okay, Instrument of the Bards. This is what they do. They're like, oh, and they're like, yes, they actually take that little tiny harp, but I'm pretty sure it has a specific name, but we're just gonna call it the harp. And they like just go, okay. There's a sticker about that that I think I should probably pay 5,000 gold for, but anyway. For a single green, you get a legendary artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a harmony counter on Instrument of the Bards. And then the animals harmonize with you, and you become a Disney princess. Well done. So naturally, 5 out of 5. Now, what else do you do? You can pay for and tap it. Search the library for a creature card with mana value equal to the number of harmony counters on Instrument of the Bards. Worth noting is not equal to or less than. It is equal to. So this is similar to... I guess we'll compare it to Ether Vial a little bit, where it goes from your hand onto the board. But it has to equal the number of counters on it. Alright. Let's see. If it's legendary, create a treasure token, then shuffle. So you could actually... You can actually just search for legendary creatures, and then, even though you're investing 4 mana into this, so it's not exactly terribly efficient, you can ramp with it, which is kind of funny. In limited, I would say this is damn good. Just be aware of what creatures you have in your deck, because you're not going to want to overstep a certain mana point and like, damn, I thought this cost 3, but it actually costs 2, so now I can't search it anymore because there's 3 harmony counters on it, and I can't go back down now, so I guess I may as well pull this card, or now I gotta go for 5 drops. It's a little awkward. And in standard, we had Vivian's Arcbow, I think, for a while as an artifact. It might even still be there. I think that might have been a War of the Spark card, and it saw little to no play, and it had a similar, like, search your library for a creature or whatever. Fiend Artisan also does a similar thing, and sees largely 0 play outside of a few fringe sacrifice decks, and I wouldn't say that decks are fringe. I say that the inclusion is kind of like a little flex kind of tech choice that people play sometimes, but not really. So for that reason, unfortunately, I'm gonna give this a 1 out of 5 in standard and a 2.5 in limited. It's okay, but it is a lot of resources to put into getting a creature, and doesn't even put it on the board. So hey. Intrepid Outlander is a 2-mana 2/3 with reach. Okay, so already this is good. It's standard green stuff is going to go, you know, beyond the vanilla test plus ultra. Whenever Intrepid Outlander attacks, you get the Pack Tactics thing. Let's see. If you enable Pack Tactics, you venture into the dungeon. Actually, pretty legit card. Honestly, I don't hate this at all. There's the dungeons. They're pretty nice. Let's see here. It doesn't buff itself at all, but it's got... And it has reach just for added bonus, like... 2-mana 2/2 that had that Pack Tactics ability. Okay, I can kind of see it. Make it a 2/3. Give it a keyword. That does have relevance because there's a decent number of flyers now. Yeah, totally. 3 to 5 limited. Not a bad card at all. Useless standard, but like still not bad. Loathsome Troll. I am angry at you because you sharpened my nose too much. Now when I sneeze, I put holes in my loincloth. So don't think about it. For 5 mana, you get a 6/2 Troll. And oh, this is a roll d20 thing. Nice. So you can pay for and roll a d20, activate only if this is in your graveyard. So, which is probably going to be in your graveyard because it only has 2 toughness. So I guess that works. So if you roll a 1 through a 9, you put it on top of your library. Not have you got that. If you roll a 10 through a 19, you put it into your hand. Okay, that's better, and that's about half the time, right? So 45% of the time on top of your library feels bad. Unless you have some self-mill or something, in which case then... I guess you can activate it again and hope to get something better, or I don't know. Anti-mill mechanics. You play this against rogues. And that nat 20, which we haven't mentioned yet, return it to the battlefield tapped. That's pretty nice. Also worth noting that it does come in tapped. It's largely because you can roll the d20 at instant speed, so if you're going to try to combo this with like village rights because you got nothing else to do, then sure, you can pay for, hopefully you get the 20 and then village rights and draw 2 cards during your opponent's turn or whenever you like to. But that is going to happen about 5% of the time, so hey. Let's see now. In limited, this is fine. It's not amazing because if you play this, your opponent kills it, and you don't have the additional 4 mana, meaning like 9 for a whole turn, to put it back during your opponent's turn, or even during your turn, then you're never going, you're kind of wasting an entire turn. Like you draw a card, sure, pay 4 mana, do nothing essentially, and then the next turn you draw another one. It's very, very slow. So only in decks that can be a little defensive, and this could potentially be something to try to wear down your opponent. But honestly, like 2.5 out of 5 there. And in standard, it's a good old 0.5. 0.5 because it has some utility in the graveyard. And you know what? I don't hate it. Long Rest. Oh god, I hate it. So, like, I like the artwork and everything. It looks so nice and cozy, and like that's the idea, when it just there's a nice little scene there. So for X and then 3 green, you get a sorcery. Return X target cards with different mana values from your graveyard to your hand. If 8 or more cards are returned to your hand this way, your life total becomes equal to your starting life total. And then this gets exiled. Hopefully this was clear enough for everyone who may be following based on interpretive hands. So, in order to get that second effect, you need X to be equal to at least 8, and you need to have grossly different mana values in your graveyard by the time you do this, which probably means some self-mill and some weird things. Like, obviously you need to have things that at least have mana value up to 8, right? So that's kind of insane. I don't know what the heck you're doing there. You're throwing a whole bunch of random stuff in there at various mana costs and hoping for the best. Now they end up in your graveyard. Are you milling things? Are you milling this? Ah, pardon me there. Oh, caught me by surprise. So, and then if you do that, then you actually, this has been noted by quite a few people, even if your hand is empty, which it probably won't be, but say you top deck this thing. Okay, X equals 8. I gain life back, and my life becomes like its original thing, so I'll go back to 20 life, and I have 8 cards in my hand. Unless anything costs 0, which is possible, you can have Tormod script or whatever, then I have to discard 1 because I have too many cards in my hand, and then that's it, that's my turn. I have added these cards back to my hand that were in the graveyard, and went to 20 life. And my opponent says, okay, well, since you just paid 11 to essentially do nothing, I am going to, and you're tapped out most likely, I'm going to kill you. Did you add a board wipe to your hand? Yeah, just 1, because you can't really add multiples. Yeah. Card's trash. In limited, where you, in the case where you don't pay a whole 8 mana for it, it's absolutely abysmal value in standard. Even in limited, paying 4 mana to get 1 card from your graveyard to your hand, excuse me, that's terrible. There's a black card that does a similar, like the same thing for creatures, and it lets you venture for like, what, 2 mana? That's so much better. So yeah. No, actually 0 out of 5. Both formats. Rare. Get out of my life. Lurking Roper. For 3 mana, you get a 4/5 horror. Oh, look at this thing. I didn't know what a Roper was, and then I saw this like, I now know what a Roper is. Doesn't untap during your untap step. Whenever you gain life, untap Lurking Roper. Doesn't matter how much life, you just gotta gain some life. And you can always just leave it there as a blocker. Doesn't have to be on the attack, and with noting you do get 1 attack out of it before you have to hopefully gain life to find a way. Of course, if you have this down with the druid class, whenever you play a land you'll untap, so you can even potentially say you attacked at the last turn. Okay, druid class, play a land, gain a life, untap it, attack with it anyway because you had it there since the last turn. And if you manage to level up druid class, maybe the same turn, maybe not, you play another land, you gain another life, and it untaps. It's really kind of cool. I like the card quite a bit. I don't believe that it's worth much because it's only a 3 mana 4/5, not a 3 mana 5/5. So literally being held back by the existence of Lovestruck Beast being better than it. Yeah, that's kind of funny. But when Eldraine cycles out, we'll see. In Limited, this card is not bad at all. The fact that you can just leave it behind as a blocker if you don't have any life gain. Of course, you don't have no life gain. Don't run this card. You don't want a 3-mana 4/5 wall. You want a 3-mana 4/5 thing that can smack your opponent in the face with the many tentacles. So just, you know, tentacle whip or whatever. So yeah, with life gain is awesome. If you don't have any life gain, don't take this card unless you have to. Neverwinter Dryad. Oh, so in standard it's actually 0 though, because it will see no play until Eldraine cycles out, and then potentially. All right, Dryad is a 1-mana 1/1. You can pay 2 and sacrifice it. Search your library for a basic forest card, put it into the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. It's okay. In Limited, it's fine. It gets you a forest, which means that it doesn't. It does a very small amount of mana fixing if you have like double green anywhere, because obviously you already have 1 green out there. Or maybe you used the treasure to make this green. You don't actually have any green on the board, any green sources, so then you use this to get a forest, and now you do. It's possible there. Standard, it's useless, even though it is a 1-mana thing. The ability just isn't where you want it to be. If it was an elf, which would be interesting, then it'd be playable. But it's not an elf. It's not at all a Llanowar elf, I'll tell you that much. So let's see. In Limited, it's alright. It's fairly slow. It doesn't really do too much for you. 2 out of 5. Ochre Jelly. Hey, look at this thing. And we're back to proper resolution. So for X and a green, you get a 0/0 with Trample. Ochre Jelly enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it, with the ability to split. When it dies, if it had 2 or more +1/+1 counters on it, create a token that is a copy of it at the beginning of the next end step. Worth noting at the next end step, not just yours, not just your opponent's, either one. Whenever it dies, it goes at the end of the turn. The token enters the battlefield with half that many +1/+1 counters on it, rounded down. I actually really need to enunciate +1/+1, because I kind of just like run over it when I'm talking to say +1/+1. So, but you know what I'm saying, right? Yeah, +1/+1 is +1/+1. Okay, now that we've established that, I can continue to refer to that in such a way for the rest of this paper. Now then, thank you for my TED Talk. So let's see here. Right, so you want to have an even number on there because it rounds down each time. So you actually want to have an odd number of mana, an odd amount of mana, so that you can make X even, and then the 1 green makes it odd afterwards. So let's see here. For 5 mana, you get a 4/4. And when it dies, it spawns a 2/2. And when that dies, it spawns a 1/1. It's not bad. It's decent. Really nothing wrong with that. And it has trample, and it gets +1/+1 counters on it. So there are ways you could proliferate or do some weird stuff with that. Some kind of Ozolith things that's potentially there. Worth noting that the tokens are copies of this, so they still have that ability to continue to split if there's enough counters on it. In Limited, this card's like a 4 out of 5. Absolutely fantastic thing. Good. Great way to just tap out if you get it later on in the game and make something that's pretty damn strong. Your opponent kills 1. Okay, here's another one. It's a little weaker, but still there. Oh, you killed that one? Here's another one. Yeah, good luck with that. And they continue to get weaker, but they also continue to cost your opponent resources. So, amazing card there. In Standard, I think it might be a little too slow to see some play, but with an effect like this, and the fact that it also has trample, so you can't exactly just jump block it and ignore it too easily, and it immediately gets around Heartless Act because it has counters on it when you play the damn thing. I believe that, and the versatility with it costing X, like you don't have to pay 5 for it. You can pay 1, and I guess you can pay 2 total and have a 1/1. That's kind of boring. But even if you just pay 3 and you make it a 2/2 that dies and makes a 1/1, it's not great value at all, but it is playable. It's an option for you. So yeah, in Standard, I would say. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna just say 3 out of 5 there. I like it. It's not super amazing, like it's no Hydroid Crisis or something like that, but there's also nothing wrong with it. Okay, Old Gnawbone, there you go. I feel like it's something you'd name like back in the bayou in the woods, like, oh, that's Old Gnawbone right there, yep. I'll tell you, last time he got me by the ankle, I nearly had myself a heart attack, but then I just reached down, grabbed the good old hatchet, and just smack the flat side. Don't worry, I'm not an animal. But anyway, so 7 mana, 7/7 Flying Dragon. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, create that many treasure tokens. So you play this thing, and you either swing out, get a bunch of mana, or you attack with this thing next turn, and hopefully get a bunch of mana. Worth noting, it doesn't have trample, and the creature doesn't have to be this creature. Any creature on your board has to deal damage to the player, so If things are blocked, then you'll get no treasure, but if you already have the ability to play this on 7, do you really need more treasure tokens? Or not more, do you really need like more mana for the turn? I guess you could. If you want to sink it into something like, I don't know, the Ochre Jelly, sure. If you wanted to have a whole bunch of artifacts that could be valuable there, it refunds itself in a turn. There's one way of looking at it. You can play 2 huge drops, it's actually kind of legit there. In Limited, this card is absolutely fantastic because you actually get a very good body. I would say 5 out of 5. Yeah, 5 out of 5 Limited for sure. In Standard, I'm not as big on this, so I really thought that, I think it's Belladros is the name, Witherbloom. The Witherbloom Dragon was going to be amazing because you just pay 10 life when it comes down, untap all your lands, it's free, basically, right? No, it's all 0 play, and it made me sad. So, and I have been told by either one person multiple times or multiple people a few times that this card should go into a Tybalt's Trickery deck, because if you hit this off Trickery, then you attack, you get the mana to just play whatever expensive cards you draw, and that it might make Trickery insane. I am not of the belief that this is true. I see the value there, absolutely. I believe it does go in a Trickery deck, don't get me wrong. I don't think that's going to push Tybalt's Trickery up much higher than it is. Like, if there were like steps, like say, you know, there's a, you know, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Say that Tybalt's Trickery is a tier 2 deck, which maybe it is. I'm just gonna say, like, for the sake of this argument, let's say it's tier 2. I believe that this would bring it up maybe like a quarter step of the way, maybe a half step. This isn't gonna make it like tier 1 by any means, or even like tier 1.5. I think it's like, yeah, it's not like tier 1.75-ish. Like, it, no. If there were 2 great cards that could do a similar thing, then yes, I think it could be potentially, you know, much more noticeable, much more impactful, but no. Outside of that deck, I don't think this card sees much play. You could play it in Sultai Ultimatum. I don't know if it's the best hit, really. You already have a bunch of mana. You do a good job ramping. Do you really need more? Probably not, but you know what? You'll probably see one of them in there as like another option, and we'll see where that takes us. Standard. Do we have many things to do with treasure? Not too many. Standard 2.5 out of 5. I'm gonna put a little bit up there, but not too high. But Limited again, 5 out of 5. Huge bomb, amazing card. Owlbear, Owlbear, Owlbear. Look at you. I like this like design. Yeah, I think it's really cool. So, and we'll just throw this back in there as well. 5 mana, 4/4 trample, and when it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Really nice card. Solid, gets you through the deck, gives you a body, even some aggression if you're looking for it. Absolute like 3 out of 5 in Limited, 0 out of 5 Standard. Very nicely done. I can't quite see the name of the artist there. I'm pretty sure it's covered up by myself here, because, you know, Gort? Something Gort. Oh, I'm turning the wrong way. Hold on. Bye. There you go. Ilse? Good job. You. Top notch. Alright. Plummet. Just classic reprint here. 2 mana, destroy a creature with flying. Sideboard card, not even in Standard though, so yeah, just keep in mind, you might want to pick this up like as your last or second to last card in, no, like a draft or something. If you open it in Limited and you're playing green, sure, maybe play 1. This is a good number of flyers. Prosperous Innkeeper. It's a 2 mana 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, you make a treasure token. Pretty nice. 2 mana, make a mana when you play it. Awesome. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life, which works well with the Roper, as well as the Book of Exalted Deeds. If you have more ways to gain life, it just works well to keep you alive. So in Limited, this card is actually quite nice. You can't dismiss the utility and just the safety of making a treasure token early in the game to help you curve out. It's very, very valuable. Because of that, even though it's a 2 mana 1/1, it's still going to be rated highly here in a 3 out of 5. Obviously, it gets weaker with... It's not great to get multiples because it is just a 1/1, and the ability kind of fades away real quick. Like, okay, I played this creature and I gain like 3 life because I have 3 Innkeepers. Okay. But you have 1/1s and you're not blocking, so I'm going to swing at you for like 6. Like, oh man, alright, well, I only took 3, really? Yeah, sure. In Standard, I don't think this will see much play at all. Maybe only for the fact that it does make a treasure there on turn 2, but I think that there's better things to do with 2 mana, I believe. I don't really think with green you need to worry about that. There's better ways to ramp if you're playing green cards. Basically, just Parasentinel kind of fills that niche, so... Sorry about that, but that's just where we are. Purple Worm, big ol' worm thing. 7 mana, 8/7. The spell costs 2 less to cast if a creature died this turn. 8/7 with ward 2. Sure. Sure. It is expensive, and you could potentially play it for 5 instead of 7. 5 mana, 8/7, huge. 7 mana, 8/7, still friggin' huge. So because of this, like 3 out of 5, maybe 3.5 if you can, you know, have something die. Doesn't care what died, as long as something died this turn. So you attack in, your opponent's like, yeah, I'll block that for whatever reason you want it to die. Sure, 8/7. Pretty legit. Yeah, 3.5 out of 5 in there. Only because good luck getting to 7 mana, but if you do get there, then, you know, that's alright. Standard, we have better big booms to hit. Alright, Ranger class. This one. This damn thing. 2 mana for the level 1 ability, which doesn't say level 1, but it is level 1, but it doesn't say level 1. That disturbs me. When Ranger class enters the battlefield, you make it 2/2. So 2 mana, 2/2. Okay. Fine. Base rate, nothing crazy there, but alright. You can pay 2 mana afterwards. Whenever you attack, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature. Okay, so I do that and pay 2 mana, swing, and I just get to buff something I'm attacking with. Alright, I don't hate that at all. It just sticks around as well. For 4 mana, you may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library. That last effect, on top of 2 very relevant things, like after the first one, it kind of, you know, pays for itself, and then the other 2 are just sort of bonus things, which are fantastic. Yeah, this card's actually quite damn good, insane, belongs in many green decks. In limited, I would say this is, I'm going to give this a 5 out of 5 limited. Like, even though it doesn't affect the board in such a huge way like you might think, it's absolutely amazing. And if you get to just put if you get to level 3 by investing, was it 2, 4, 8 mana across however many turns into it, like, we're just going to consider it costing 4 there for the last ability. That's very, very nice. That gives you so much more, like, staying power and sustainability and just value and tempo that it is, yeah, that's an amazing ability to have in the limited format. In standard even, it sees play. So for that reason, I will say standard, 3.5 out of 5. In limited, 5 out of 5. Ranger's longbow. That is a very large bow. Okay, or maybe the man's actually really tiny. It's actually a miniature holding a regular size bow. That would... I'm not good with scale. Anyway, so for 2 mana, you have an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+1 and has reach, equipped for 3. It's something. Standard is useless, and limited is probably like a 2.5, maybe even a 3 out of 5. The equip is a little expensive. Reach is relevant, and it is statted aggressively, so it has reach. But the aggressive means, like, you want to hold it back because the utility of giving it reach is that it can block a flyer. But you want to attack because you just give it more power. It's a strange thing going on there that I don't quite understand, don't quite feel comfortable with, but it's not too bad. So yeah, 2.5 out of 5 there, in limited. Skilled Herbalist is a 2 mana 1/3. You can tap to put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. It's alright. It's not fantastic. It's a semi-decent blocker, and if you have enough land, if you have some ramp, if you have expensive cards, then yeah, you can definitely run this thing. I would say, but the other thing is the ability doesn't really do so much. I would say 2.25. I know I don't really give too many like quarter values, but it's not quite like 2.5. I would rather have the Ranger's Longbow than the Skilled Herbalist, unless I'm really hurting for creatures. Or unless I have some huge mana curve, which is just like, into the moon. Standard is not going to see any play, but it's kind of cool though. Spoils of the Hunt is a 3 mana instant. Target creature control gets +1/+0 until end of turn for each mana from a treasure that was spent to cast this spell, which feasibly is just going to be maximum 3. Realistically, it's probably only going to be nothing. Then the creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature and opponent controls. Worth noting, it is not a fight ability, it is my creature is punching yours, and that's the end of the story, and your creature just sits there and takes it like a creature. Take it like the creature you are. Oh, I'm a creature. Oh. So that's what they're saying. You know, it's very, very general. You know, they're very inclusive. So let's see. Instant speed is okay. 3 mana is terrible, and the potential, you know, buff for treasures is largely going to be useless or ignored or just inconsequential. And beyond that, it can only hit creatures. There are other things that can hit planeswalkers as well. Yeah. or do some other bonus effect there. So this isn't worth the cost at all. 1 out of 5 limited, it can be a kill spell, but it's a very, very inefficient one. And standard, excuse me? No. Sylvan Shepherd is a 3 mana, 2/3 with Vigilance, and whenever it attacks, you roll a d20. 1 through 9, you gain life. 10 through 19, you gain 2 life. Nat 20, you gain 5 life. Somewhat relevant. The artwork is interesting, because there's like just big patch of green, and if you look closely you can actually see it's like a unicorn, but it's almost hard to focus on any one thing, and like the rest of the card's actually in a decent like resolution there, so it's not that the card itself is blurry, it's just the colors kind of meld together, at least for me. I don't know. Is that a sign of color blindness, or is it just a sign that my palette is more refined? I don't know. It's one of the two extremes. There is no middle ground. So for this thing, it's gonna be a 2 out of 5 for me, boss. It's not bad, but if you're ahead on the board, cool. It can help stabilize you if your opponent's trying to chip you down, like I was trying to do one time, and unfortunately they played this, and I was like, well, I had 2 damage to go to try to like find some way to just hit you and kill you that way. But unfortunately, you played 2 of these, so now you're going to gain at least 2 life every turn, and I'm dead. And I don't know how I'm going to emotionally recover from this. Not financially, I didn't really spend too much money on that. I used a token. In standard, useless, but in limited, it's, yeah, like a 2, did I say 2 out of 5? Yeah. You need to be ahead when you play it, or you don't have to be ahead, but just don't count on the ability. The Tarask, there we go. This is the thing I was trying to remember the hell the name was in another review, and I was like, the terror, the big, the gnawing, massive dino thing. The Tarask. There's a 9 mana 10/10, which, considering we've had a 5 mana 10/10 in green, 9 mana 10/10. But no one played the other one. Okay, the Tarask has haste and ward 10 as long as it was cast. Which means that if you reanimate it, it doesn't have haste or ward 10, it's just a 10/10 that you're pulling up out of nowhere. And we currently have an 11/11 with trample. That is in standard in like Godzilla. I think it's Titanothrax. It might not be, but I know it's Godzilla. And also has a cycle ability, which just fits into a reanimator deck much better. So all that to go through saying this is not a card necessarily for reanimator. Moving on, whenever the Tarask attacks, it fights target creature defending player controls. So you play this for 9. It has haste and ward 10, which, let's just call it hexproof and call it a day. I don't know why it has to have ward 10. Hopefully there's some flavorful reason why you have to like invest so many resources to be able to target it. I guess it's supposed to be maybe like this whole town or city or nation, who the hell knows, rising up together to, you know, pay the cost and eventually overcome it. Or maybe they just wanted to put a big number there and say, it's not hexproof, it's ward 10. I suppose it does make it stronger against, like, the, what's it called? The Spear of Destiny. The Trident of the Gods. Shadow Spear, that's what it was. I know that removes indestructible. I don't know if it removes hexproof exactly. I think it does. Anyway, because you're going to beat this thing in combat, right? Whenever the Tarask attacks, so you play this, you attack, it fights something your opponent controls, and this does take the damage, of course, because they are, you know, hitting each other, and you're still attacking with this. It does not have trample, but it does remove the creature on attack declaration. Assuming the creature is going to die to a 10/10, just saying. So, it's cool. I mean, maybe, I don't even think... Would Assault Ultimatum deck play this? Probably not. Maybe one of, just because it's kind of funny. Huge thing that if you cast it can probably take over the game. Can be countered, worth noting. You know, ward 10 doesn't mean you can't counter it on the stack. If it resolves, that's great, but how many things are going to resolve when you have 9 mana on the board against a control deck? Yeah. Tarask, flavor of a win, like, absolutely. In limited, I'm gonna have to bring this down to like a 3. Good luck getting 9 mana, honestly. If you can reliably get 9 mana like every game, somehow, if you have all the ramp, you have the Circle of the Dreams or whatever it is, Druid, and you have the Lizard Man that puts land on the battlefield, this guy, and you have the Druid class, then you know what? You might get there. Congratulations, you have all the treasure in the world, you can cast this thing, you will win the game. if you do not have all of the ramp in the world, then this card will often sit in your hand and be like, if only I could play you. So yeah, standard. I'll give it a 2.5 out of 5. I'm really not too sure how to evaluate this thing, but I feel like just the sheer number of stats that it has and like the other things going for it, it's literally just green, throw a bunch of things at it and see what sticks, as they often do. I already made a mention of the questing beast earlier, so there you go, have at it. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Okay, the Underdark Basilisk is a 2-mana 1/2 with Death Touch. I guess if you're playing Finn the Fangbearer, maybe you can throw this in there. It's probably one of the weaker Death Touchers you have. Like, there's other things that are much more impactful, do something else to the board, instead of just having Death Touch to have Death Touch as their only utility. So for that reason, it's... And Finn decks aren't even really all that great. So yeah, because of that, this is certainly going to go down as like a 1 out of 5 in Standard. And this is like a 2 out of 5 in Limited. It's not terrible. You can buff things, or you can keep it back as a blocker and piss your opponent off at some point. Hey, sure. Varys, actually, the S is silent. Very. Silvery Moon Ranger. God, I hate the fact that this thing is Silvery Moon. I couldn't just call it Silver Moon. Nope, Silvery. It's silvery. Okay, sounds like cutlery. It's like, here you go, which is appropriate for silver. Here you go, I'm a ranger of the fork. Stab. So, for 3 mana, you get a 3/3 legendary creature, human elf ranger. Those are, well, human and elf are both very relevant creature types, so that could add some value to it. With reach and ward 1, which is just enough to be obnoxious. Whenever you cast a creature or planeswalker spell, venture into the dungeon. This ability triggers only once each turn, and whenever you complete a dungeon, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. It's actually not a bad ability at all. There are quite a few layers in the dungeon where you either scry or draw a card. Let's see, whenever you cast, has to be casting things. So you can get a treasure, which all of those abilities can help you cast more creatures or planeswalkers from your hand. So because of that, it does somewhat fuel itself, and it's a 3-mana 3/3 with a bunch of other things on it. Okay, let's see, let's give it reach, why not? Ward, sure, and some other ability it can trigger, and we'll make it 2 relevant types, and yeah, see if this gets buffed. This is good enough to see any play. Yeah, I think so. I absolutely think so. And because of this, I will say, limited, kind of like a 4 out of 5. This card is pretty damn legit. Play a creature, get a bonus thing. Play a creature, get a bonus thing. Play another one. Okay, I make a 2/2 wolf, by the way, and this thing is still amazing and blocks all the flyers that you probably have, and yeah, lovely card. In Standard, this is going to be down a bit to like a 2 out of 5. It's a very nice 3-drop. Does it beat Questing Beast? No. Well, okay, it doesn't beat Questing Beast, but I said the wrong card there. Does it beat Lovestruck Beast either? Also no. And it just dies to Bone Crusher. Not the stomp, but just the actual creature. 3/3 versus 4/3. Alright, Wandering Troubadour. Really? Troubadour? For some reason I thought a Troubadour was like a cabinet, like an armoire. But no, this is a Wandering Troubadour. Okay, so for 4 mana, I'm just imagining this cabinet, which is very, Dance of the Manse-esque. Just kind of... Alright. So for 4 mana, you get a 4/2. Dragon Bard. Bard is now a creature type. I love it. At the beginning of... Look at this. He's so happy. My goodness, like... Look at this scene. You can't be angry looking at this card. And there's like a little like frog down there too. Oh my god. This is great. At the beginning of your end step, if you had a land in the battlefield under your control this turn, venture into the dungeon. Look at that. That's so good. Ah, yes. You know what? 5 out of 5. Yeah, definitely. Fantastic card. Oh my god, I love it. You play this card, it just makes everyone happy. It just makes your day better. Yeah, absolutely. Amazing card. Great. Werewolf Pack Leader is a 2-mana 3/3. God, I'm fighting the urge to go back and actually rate it for real. Nope. You just have to live by the joke right there. Okay, it's okay. They'll understand. Everyone else will be able to place it accordingly. Okay. Okay. Pack Tactics. Draw a card. And for 4 mana until end of turn, this has base power and toughness 5/3, gains trample, and isn't a human. So, remember how I said that the wizards like to take green cards, add pretty damn good stats for the value, and throw a bunch of words at it and see what sticks, and then that's the card? and somehow they don't end up broken or whatever, yeah, welcome, you know, entrant number like 5 or 6 million. 2 mana 3/3 with 2 different types of upside, 2 different abilities that give it bonus stuff. And it's also a human, which is relevant in older formats, really. Although older format humans don't run green, they're like white. And even potentially like Esper. Usually they're Azorius. Although I think in Death and Taxes is like black and white. No, I'm thinking black and white because Death is like a dark thing. It's not. Anywho. Oh boy. So this card is actually extremely powerful. It does half the pack tactics work already. So like you play 2 of these and you swing out and suddenly you're already off to the races. And for 4 mana, you can give it a sizable buff. Isn't a human? Oh no. And put it 1 away from enabling pack tactics, and it still has the ability to draw a card. Yeah, this card's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. In limited, like, I don't want to oversell this exactly, but I believe I can put this at like a 4. You do have to, like, it goes from 2 mana to a 4 mana ability, so there's that gap in there on turn 3 where I guess it sort of recoups some of the... It kind of loses some of its value, but still not even. This is a 4 out of 5 in limited, and in standard, super aggressive, super good. 4 out of 5 standard, yeah, this card's busted. Okay, or at least is, yeah, it's busted. I'm just gonna stick with that. Wild Shape, okay, and I can come down a little bit now. Whew. That was some strong stuff. All right, 1 mana instant speed. Choose 1. Until end of turn, target creature control has the base power and toughness and becomes a creature type and gains that ability. So you do this, you can target either your creature or your opponent. Oh no, it has to be your creature. Damn. Okay. Well, that lost some utility there. So for 1 green, 1 of your creatures becomes a 1/3 turtle hexproof, a 1/5 spider with reach, or a 3/3 elephant with trample for the turn. This is not giant growth. This is not some really interesting combat trick. Nothing that you can get is particularly strong. It's a very defensive spell. You can give something hexproof to avoid a kill spell, and I guess reach is literally only useful against flyers, and it's not gonna be able to kill them any flyers. It only has 1 power, so and the elephant with trample, why would, like, odds are that's a very, very small amount of damage you're trying to eke out, like with trample. Make it like a 4/1 elemental with trample or something. Like, okay, I can understand that. That's kind of legit, but no, they're not doing that. So this is like a 1 out of 5 limited. I hate, it's not that great. There's some value here, but there's really not much. I think the most value is actually with the turtle just being able to dodge removal. And in standard, 0 out of 5, because you find a cursed idol, the card that is not an instant. It reads like an instant. It is not an instant. So, or at least it feels like it should be 1. 2 mana. You can destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment, or create a treasure. This has some very, very good utility because of the 3 different modes that are actually quite valuable. In standard, this could not see. I mean, it could see play in like a 1-of maybe in a sideboard somewhere, or just throw it into a best of 1 deck again, just as a 1-of because it has all the options there. But still, I don't think it's going to see much play there. I'll give it like a 1 out of 5 in standard. It could see like the slightest little bit of play, but I don't think you're ever going to see more than 1 copy. And in limited, this card's alright. There are quite a few artifacts in the form of usually equipment and enchantments and classes and other sorts of things that are relevant. So whereas I wasn't quite aware of them before, as I'm going through the last colored review, there's also multicolored stuff later on, but we'll get there. When we get there, these are 3 fairly relevant things to do. I like that you can make the treasure on turn 2 to help curve out if you have 4 drops or if you only have 2 lands for some reason. Yeah, pretty legit. In limited, 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5. Standard, again, just that singular 1. What else? You also happen upon a glade. For 3 mana, instant speed. You either search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle. So 3 mana, get 2 lands into your hand. Okay. Or you return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. The fact that it's an instant means this is like somewhat relevant. Standard is useless. Don't even get me started there. It's just terrible. But in limited, like, okay, I would give this a 1.5 out of 5. You can ramp if you have bigger things. The get a permanent from your graveyard to the hand isn't quite as impactful, but there is some removal in like enchantment an artifact form, I believe, or is it just enchantment? There's some other things you can do that aren't just creatures, because the black spell that gets the thing back to your hand can only target creatures, and also adventure. So there's some added value there, but it's not really all that great. But you could take one of these and not feel too bad. And then, I believe lastly, yes, lastly you meet in a tavern where it all began. We've come full circle. So for 4 mana, you either form a party at sorcery speed, look at the top 5 cards of your library, you may reveal any number of creature cards from among them and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Pretty nice. 4 mana, essentially draw... If you're lucky, draw 5 cards. Probably not going to happen there. Damn, that'd be a hell of a thing. But 4 mana, draw like 1 or 2. Okay, draw 1 or 2 creatures, not bad. Or start a roll. Creatures you control get +2/+2 until end of turn. Worth reiterating here, this is a sorcery, so that is not really a combat trick. It is just a buff, and like, hey, look what I'm doing. I'm going to attack, we'll see how we go. In Standard, this is not going to see play at all. I think we still have Vivian that can do a similar thing as far as looking for creatures, and the Brawl ability, there are other ways to buff your creatures that are sort of better, just to have stronger creatures. I mean, why buff your creatures? Just play stronger creatures, there you go, no need for buffs, so they're strong enough. Yeah, that is the best way to to solve a problem. Just make the problem go away. But let's see, make the puzzle pieces solve themselves. But largely you're going to be playing this for the form of party ability. And in multiples, this isn't even that bad. It does kind of dilute your creature pool, but I should say it doesn't dilute your creature pool. It brings down the number of creatures in your deck, or the ratio of creatures to non-creatures, but it's still, I would play 2 of these in a deck and be happy. So for that, like 3 out of 5, I think this is super solid. You can get a lot of value off of it in limited. And in Standard, 0, and that means we're done. All right, little bullet at the end there. Let's take a look at that owlbear again. Look at that. It looks like a bro kind of. He's like, hey, buddy, how you doing? Hey, come here. You know, lay it on me real quick. Hey, what's going on? Oh, I'm just gonna climb this tree right quick. Do I have wings? Who knows? I got feathers. Let's find out. And then, like, it jumps off the thing. It's like, yo, I fell off the thing, and I'm Italian now. What's it coming to go? Okay, so. Oh, can you tell I'm tired? So, yep, this has now become Italian bear. Well, it's like an Italian owl. I don't know. I have no clue. So, without further ado, thank you very much for sticking with me. There are 2 more videos to come, which will be the multicolored and colorless cards, which include lands, the review for those, and then the intro, which goes over the mechanics and talks a little more in detail about venturing and rolling d20s and the flavor for the set. So, thank you again, and without further ado, good night or good morning, depending on where you are in the world, but as always, good luck.